All right, let's dive right into a seriously high-stakes area of modern medicine. Today, we are unpacking systemic autoimmune diseases. Specifically, we're looking at the cutting-edge science of treating systemic lupus erythematase, which we'll just call SLE for short, using umbilical cord stem cells. If you've ever found yourself wondering how modern science is literally trying to reprogram the human body to heal itself, well, you're absolutely in the right place. So let's get into it. Think of your immune system like a highly trained internal security force. Its one and only job is to protect you from outside invaders, right? But what happens when that security force just completely loses its balance and turns its weapons inward? That is the devastating premise of an autoimmune disease. The very system designed to keep you alive begins to actively damage your own tissues. It's almost like a biological betrayal. And for patients with SLE, it's a harsh reality they have to live with every single day. Here is our roadmap for this explainer. First, understanding lupus. Second, treatment challenges. Third, the stem cell solution. Fourth, the core difference. Fifth, the umbilical cord as a new source. And finally, future prospects.
Okay, Section 1, Understanding Lupus.
Systemic lupus erythematosus is a multi-system autoimmune disease. Now, the crucial biological issue happening behind the scenes here is the abnormal activation and just massive proliferation of T and B cells. In a healthy body, your T and B cells are your loyal defenders. But in an SLE patient, they are completely overactive and unregulated. And because they travel freely through the bloodstream, this isn't just some localized issue. It causes severe inflammation and damage to multiple target organs all at once. We're talking the skin, the kidneys, joints, the heart, lungs, and even the nervous system. It's literally a total body crisis that can ultimately be fatal.
Moving on to Section 2, treatment challenges. The current drug landscape for SLE, well, frankly, it's pretty brutal. To stop the immune system from attacking the organs, doctors basically have to shut the whole immune system down. And that means relying on heavy chemical treatments. We are talking about drugs like ibuprofen, aspirin, prednisone, chloroquine, methotrexate, tacrolimus, and azathioprine. And sure, while these drugs have historically improved survival rates, they require years and very often an entire lifetime of continuous use. Just imagine the daily psychological and financial toll of being tethered to a cocktail of powerful drugs just to survive. And as you might guess, this builds into a completely unsustainable cycle for so many patients. The side effects of these conventional therapies are just devastating in their own right. Long-term use of corticosteroids and immunosuppressants directly leads to things like stomach ulcers, osteoporosis, a dangerously increased risk of infections because remember, your immune system is suppressed, and even bone marrow suppression. And worst of all, if a patient tries to stop taking the medications because the side effects become just unbearable, the disease relapses unpredictably. The current cycle simply isn't good enough. We desperately need therapies that are safer and actually more effective. Which brings us to Section 3, the stem cells solution. Enter mesenchymal stem cells, or MSCs. These are essentially the biological heroes of our explainer today. MSCs are multipotent, meaning they can differentiate into various mature specialized cells, and they are self-renewing. But the thing that makes them an absolute game changer for lupus patients is their incredibly powerful immunomodulatory properties. Think of MSCs as microscopic peacekeepers. They don't just blindly suppress the immune system like the drugs do. They actually step in to regulate and reset the immune balance. For patients who just don't respond to traditional drug therapies, MSCs are emerging as a highly beneficial, safe, and effective new approach. Now for Section 4, the core difference. Now, you might naturally assume that using a patient's own stem cells, which we call autologous cells, would be the safest bet, right? But for SLE, autologous MSCs actually fail. And why is that? It's because the patient's internal environment is already deeply compromised. Their own MSCs are dysfunctional in how they multiply and how they regulate immunity. That systemic autoimmune loss of control has already damaged them. So putting them back in won't improve the symptoms. But on the flip side, we have allogeneic cells. These are transplanted from healthy donors who have absolutely no history of autoimmune disease. And these healthy MSCs are highly effective. They jump right into that chaotic environment of an SLE patient and actually restore the necessary regulatory balance, which drastically improves the patient's symptoms. Next up, Section 5, umbilical cord as a new source. So the really crucial point here is that we need a pristine, highly potent source of donor MSCs. And umbilical cord blood is exactly that. First off, it can be harvested completely safely right after birth without any major ethical concerns, which is a huge plus. Secondly, these cells are just incredibly robust. studies are showing that MSCs derived from umbilical cords have been highly successful in treating various autoimmune diseases, but especially SLE. They even promote the integration of blood-forming stem cells and actively help prevent graft versus host disease, which basically means the patient's body is much less likely to reject them. Let's actually zoom all the way down to the microscopic level here to see exactly how these umbilical cord MSCs disarm the cellular attack inside a lupus patient. Step 1. The MSCs secrete massive amounts of an enzyme called indolamine 2,3-dioxygenase. Try saying that 3 times fast. Step 2. By releasing that enzyme, they restore the balance of TREGs, or regulatory T cells. You can think of TREGs as the managers of the immune system. They normally dial down the aggressive T cells, but in lupus patients, that management team is completely out of whack. The donor MSCs step in and fix that management system. Step 3. With the TREGs back online and the enzymes flowing, that abnormal explosive proliferation of both T and B cells is actively suppressed. The MSCs literally calm the energy state of those aggressive T cells right down, putting an end to the internal war. And finally, Section 6, Future Prospects. Over 200. That is the number of clinical trials for autoimmune stem cell therapies currently registered worldwide right now. The vast majority of these are zeroing in on mesenchymal and hematopoietic stem cells. And honestly, this massive number just validates the rapid global advancement of this exact treatment. It proves that the worldwide medical community is recognizing stem cell therapy not just as some fringe experimental idea, but as a legitimate, pivotal advancement in regenerative medicine that is ready for clinical application. Let's bring all this heavy science back to the human element for a second. The source material captures it perfectly with this quote. The potential of treating SLE with umbilical cord MSCs goes so far beyond just biological metrics on some lab chart. It is literally about the complete restoration of a person's life. It gives a patient back their quality of life, completely freeing them from the debilitating side effects of lifelong immunosuppressants. And by removing that constant, heavy need for expensive conventional drugs and hospitalizations, it removes a massive financial burden from the patient, their family, and society as a whole. It's a truly holistic approach to healing. Which brings us to a pretty massive final thought. While researchers definitely acknowledge that we still need longer-term studies to map out the complete overall efficacy and those precise decades-long mechanisms, the breakthrough is undeniably already here. The shift from just managing symptoms with heavy chemicals to literally reprogramming the immune system with umbilical cord stem cells is nothing short of revolutionary. So I'm going to leave you with this. As this research rapidly expands, will stem cell therapy become the ultimate key to completely freeing patients from the lifelong burden of autoimmune diseases? Well, the science strongly suggests that we are standing on the very edge of exactly that future. Keep learning, keep questioning, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.